Hey everybody, and welcome back to another exciting season of Horror Film Lovers First Time Watch Fridays. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and yeah, we've got a show for you today. Uh Probably a pretty fun one. I'm into like slashers, if anyone knows me. And so I had to pick this movie, Die Die Delta Pi. I've got the DVD of it. I forgot exactly where I got it from. If it I found it somewhere. Like I think it was either at Second and Charles, which I don't think it was, or it was at Dark Delicacies or something like that. But anyway, I'm really excited to talk about it because Sean Donahue and Chris Leto directed it together. And basically it's part of, well, no, okay, I know where I got it from. Oldies.com. That's where I got it from. It even says it on the thing, on the cover. Um, so it's cool because it stars a couple people that I know, like Bianca Lane, Roxy Vandiver. Special effects are done by Marcus Cook, who I absolutely adore his stuff. Mike Christopher, best known for the Hare Krishna zombie in George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, is in it as well as an officer. It let me read you what the back says, and then I'll tell you more about it. But understand there is going to be some spoilers because I can't talk about this movie without spoiling it a little bit. So it was the 1980s when times were fun, clothes were rad, and girls were bad. Technology was changing, but there was one thing that didn't change: tradition. And no one upheld tradition better than the Delta Pi, a long-lasting sorority institution in the heart of muggy Tampa, Florida. Every year, new inductees were stripped to their undies for a raunchy initiation that involved togas and paddles. That is until 1986, when the Delta Pi sisters decided to pull a prank on one of their own, Marissa Chambers. The one they all hated because she was prettier and smarter than the rest. The smarter part, I don't think they thought of her as prettier. Maybe she was, but I don't think that's why they were threatened by her or anything. Let's see. The prettier and smarter than the rest. They only wanted to get her to step down from the sorority, but instead they accidentally burned her to death after the Delta Pi was shut down. But now, 27 years later, the house has been reopened and new sisters elected. Suddenly start dying one by one in a gruesome manner. Can Marissa Chambers somehow be responsible? The girls will have to move their panty-clad butts if they want to survive, because the Burt one has returned. This retro 80s style slasher flick is directed by Sean Donahue, who did Naked Cannibal Campers, and Christopher Leto, who did the Housewife slasher. It features a bevy of beautiful horror babes, including Bianca Lane from Zombie Natrix, and Roxy Vandiver, who I know from um, what is it, Spirit Camp, as well as gruesome helping of practical special effects by Marcus Cook, American Guinea Pig, and 100 Tears. Special guest appearances by Mike Christopher from Dawn of the Dead, and actor producer Rod Grant from The Connection. Um, all right, so let's go into it. So basically, yes. So it starts off in the 80s, and they are planning this. They're having this like toga party thing where they're having all the sisters dress up like that and go to a bonfire. And the house mother is kind of treated badly. She's kind of always called like ugly by everybody. And I guess she's just really upset at all these pretty, and young women who are now the hit of the sorority. And so she ends up uh massacring a bunch of people while they're at this toga party. And during the toga party, they accidentally burn Marissa. And Marissa and the house mother, I guess, have formed a bond later. And like I said, it's spoilers, so you're gonna hear that shit. I mean, you're gonna hear more about it, but then we kind of go to I don't know how many years was it? It was like I guess it was 86 to 13, 14-ish. So 2014, there's a new crop of girls who want to pledge for Delta Pi, and so now, since they're re sort of redoing Delta Pi, bringing that back, the Bert one is back, and the mother of well, one of the women who survived is the mother of one of the pledge girls, so she gets in automatically, but the other girls have to pledge and they get paddled and all these other things. It was really weird. There were moments where, and I like the weirdness. Don't get me wrong. Don't think that like me saying that is a bad thing. Um, but what they did was a lot of times they took sort of situations and issues that I I'm you know I want to say like little th weird like scenes. Like there was one guy who was getting picked on by this other like bigger guy, and then he just stands up for himself out of nowhere and just like pushes the guy up against the wall, and they make some kind of like Revenge of the Nerds joke about it. It was just like where did that come from? Like that almost felt like a scene in a different movie, like or like maybe they had all these different scenes and they just kind of like wanted to throw a bunch of random stuff into the movie. There's some stuff with twins. There's stuff with a bunch of other characters. I mean, I enjoyed it. Like I was very but I'm into slashers. And the gorier the better. Uh Honestly. And I the more the gorier, kind of thing for me. And I like that. I like Marcus Cooks. I didn't know he did I should have known. He's a Florida guy. But he did the amazing effects on it, and everything. So I just adored that. It was definitely very gory. Um, so yeah. So to Sorry, my dog is barking. I don't know if you can hear him or not. If so, it's probably very low. But then you get to meet all these characters, and when you watch a movie like this, most of the characters are going to die. That's just, I mean, par for the course. And you're kind of like sometimes you're kind of excited for it because you don't like the characters and you hope they die. But I'm not gonna lie, I kind of liked everybody in this movie. Nobody like bothered me. There were these two characters that were wrestlers, and they were wrestling each other and kind of picking on each other and everything. But like they both were friends since like I guess middle school and shit, they said, and maybe even earlier than that. And they were, like best friends that, you know, didn't mind beating each other up and stuff. Uh, but it did get really weird because at times it was very sort of it became sort of a little bit racist at one point. The one of the guys was of Asian descent, so there was a lot of jokes about kung fu and all these other things, but it didn't. I just thought it was like two guys picking on each other, and it didn't even bother me because it didn't even seem to bother the guy, that was doing like or was getting all the jokes said about him. So it was funny. There was a lot of really good moments to the film. As I said, like if I well, since I'm into slashers, I'm just kind of like it was one of those things where I watched this going, you know what, this will be really fun and enjoyable. And I sort of knew it when I heard the title because I love sorority slasher films, House on Sorority Row, and Sorority Row, the remake, which actually I think is a lot better than it should be, and a lot that it gets a lot of credit for. I just love those kind of movies. And so you may see more of those in my first time watch Fridays at some point because I do like them a lot, and so I will probably watch more. But as far as things go, like Die Delta Pi was really fun and enjoyable. And I definitely recommend it for people who are uh into this kind of stuff. Um, into slashers especially. I think Sean and Chris, obviously they had the tropes that you normally get. You get the blood and the guts and whatnot, and a lot of really good blood and guts. And then you also get like sort of the nudity, which I mean, honestly, today, you see less and less of nudity, and it's not from these guys. These guys, that's sort of their bread and butter, but a lot of people don't do it, and I sort of understand why, because after watching this movie, it's like, I mean, it's it is what it is. Like after a while, I'm like, would if they didn't have nudity in this movie, would have it affected it in some way? Like there are some movies that you watch and you're like, oh God, like at least they gotta have something. So like nudity sometimes doesn't bother me because I'm like, that's the only thing that they have going for it. But this had some really good kill scenes, had some interesting characters, and then so the nudity sprinkled throughout almost felt a little awkward at times. Like, there's a girl in it who's pretty much topless, like throughout like 5 scenes or something when they come back to the bonfire. And I thought she was great. Like she was the cutest of them all. Like she was so adorable. I absolutely adored her. But she was nude like most of the time, and obviously it didn't bother her, as a person to do that. But or she probably wouldn't have done it. Um, that would be my guess. I don't know. I don't know the specifics. But what I will say is like it did sort of feel like okay, like I mean, there's that kind of joke in Not Another Teen Movie where the foreign girl is just naked the whole time. That's Serena Vincent, and that's just a running gag. After a while of this stuff, it's sort of like, can she put her shirt back on or at least something, because like I just kind of felt sorry for her. She's out there. I mean, it's probably warm, it's Florida, but it might not be. And she might be cold. Like, kind of felt bad for her after a little bit. But she was a slugger and did a great job, and I adored every single person in this movie. And even the house mother, who I loved that I mean, the woman was committed to this, to this role and to doing the way she did it. I just thought she did a great job. There was a lot of people from the Florida scene. Like we mentioned Michael Christopher, I think he lives down there and everything. So was Bob Glazier was pandemic. Yeah, I'm saying that completely wrong. Um, but I wanted to say pandemic. That makes no sense. Paramedic. There we go. Um, so he was a paramedic. There was a couple other characters and stuff. So honestly, I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a lot of fun. It had some great moments to it, colorful characters. It kept my interest for the whole hour and 18 minutes. That's another thing I'll say. It's only an hour and 18 minutes, and it's on Tubi for free. Now, I have the DVD, so I watched that, but it's on Tubi for free, so you can watch it anytime you want to. That's why I decided throughout it, I wasn't going to spoil the ending or anything. If you haven't seen it and you still want to watch it after my discussion, go check it out on Tubi. Or buy it from oldies.com. If you're a slasher fan and you want to own all the slasher movies, this definitely is a slasher to own. So I totally recommend it. Once again, if you haven't seen it, please do. All right. Well, that's about it. That about wraps up the first episode back. I will be back again for another episode. What I'm doing is right now, if you can't tell, I'm a little stuffed up, and I'm also not feeling the greatest. But I'm doing these because what I'm doing is I'm doing four movies today. Two are going to be for first time watch Fridays, and two are going to be for the Blu-ray Hunter, and they're all going to take place at here, and everything, and sort of similar with me just doing it. And so I figured, for the first, you know, two each, I would do it today while I'm not feeling great. I have nothing else to do. So with that, I definitely will leave you guys, let you guys come back next week for another First Time Watch Friday episode. I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing yet, but you guys will know next week. All right, until then, everybody. Bye.